And we are live. Welcome to this latest live stream with me, Peter Sweden, and my special guest today, Nick Monroe, a journalist who just got red-pilled because of what happened to Brittany Pettibone and Lawrence Sudden, all of this craziness going on in the UK right now, where they have been banned and detained and deported. Lawrence Sudden was actually held under the terrorism law, so it's really getting crazy in Europe right now. So thank you so much for being on, Nick.
Yeah, what happened with Brittany, I mean, I didn't see it as a political thing. I saw it as my friend getting wrongfully detained by a foreign government for political, reasons. And that's just such an abuse of power and the laws that people have to abide by that I just can't handle this shit anymore. If you want to make me a right-wing person, congratulations. Here I am. So hello, beautiful people. My name's Nick Monroe, and I'm new to the right wing.
Well, you're welcome. Seems like the British government's policy of censorship has kind of backfired.
Backfired in the most ugly and destructive way possible. And if this is what they want, this is what they're going to get. They said they want to stop things from escalating. They've done the opposite. They've escalated it just in the opposite direction. To try and appease the Muslims, they're suppressing the right-wing people. And in doing so, they have things escalate with the right-wing people. So it's just, a two-way street.
Well, that's the problem that I see when a government takes sides like this and only goes after certain people, the right wing, and leaves the leftists and other people alone. Just let them do whatever they want. You saw this video where they attacked Tommy Robinson the other day. That's the problem I see. That's quite a dangerous path to go, because that might make some people kind of upset, and it would just backfire and could actually radicalize some people, which is not what we want. It's that's why democracy and free speech is so important, in my opinion, because that's how you can actually deal with the issues that's happening in the world.
The Antifa attacked Tommy Robinson because they knew they could get away with it, because they knew the UK authorities are more harsh towards Tommy. That's the only reason why they thought it was okay to attack Tommy.
Yeah, no, I agree. They know they can get away with it, and they'll just do more crazy stuff like that because they know they won't get arrested. And that is the problem. We've been seeing more and more with Antifa. They've been getting away with things, and other people have been getting away with things as well. I just saw that here's the funny thing that I think, in the UK, this news story just broke out of the worst grooming scandal yet, where thousands of young girls have been groomed for 40 years and attacked, and the police didn't do anything because they were afraid of called racist. But deporting Lauren and Brittany, that's top priority, it seems.
Yeah, when it comes to the grooming gangs thing, the one problem is that this epidemic is actually happening in multiple cities. I just interviewed a migrant rape victim that had a Asian broken English person break into their home right before they had brain surgery, and she got raped right in her living room.
And that's so sad. That's a problem I've seen as well. That migrants are often victims of these kind of attacks as well, because they're so afraid of racism and so on. But many victims are actually sometimes migrants as well. That's the interesting thing to point out, especially in Sweden, at least.
Oh God, Sweden. I mean, I'm sorry, but Sweden is gone, man. It's just gone. I'm sorry. I mean, you only laugh because it's so sad. I'm sorry. Holy shit, Sweden. You could say holy shit, Sweden, and then people would understand now. That's where we are.
Yeah, Sweden is pretty bad, and it seems like the UK is not far behind.
And this migrant rape victim didn't come forward to the police for 3 years after her brain surgery. For one, because brain surgery fucks up your memory and she needed to get her motor skills back. But for two, she was afraid because of the authorities calling her racist for reporting this crime against her. And the UK authorities had to finally acknowledge that in the compensation fight that happened afterwards, because she filed for compensation from the government because of what happened. And she won. And in doing so, they had to acknowledge that she was afraid to come forward for so long because of being called a racist by the authorities. So that's a win. And that's a small win compared to the horrible, horrible atrocities that happened to Brittany and Lauren.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, when I see what happened to Brittany and Lauren, I'm really concerned for the future of free. You know, I'm really seeing the UK going into a communist state. Really, it's really turning communist really quick. I mean, it's happened so quick, and the interesting part is the government in the UK now is so-called conservative. You know, imagine how bad it will get when when the left wings get into power, and the left wings are leading the polls right now, and they have basically, and the guy who's leading the Labour Party, the left party in the UK, Jeremy Corbyn, he's basically a communist. You know, imagine how bad it will get. I mean, there's going to be gulags coming soon.
Well, you have to remember the historical context with the UK and London, especially. They really never got along all the way with the European Union, and that harkens back to the Theresa May years, where she went into European Parliament and she was like so optimistic, and then it just got sucked right out of her, man. I mean, by the end of her, you know, terms, I don't know how long they served. Oh, towards the end of her career, she was basically like, Britain is for the English, and Italy is for the Italians and stuff like that. She was full on red pilled on identitarian stuff, because there's intergovernmentalism and there's supranationalism, and the supranationalism is where the globalism stuff comes in. But intergovernmentalism is being separate cultures yet respecting each other still.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened to the UK. They just went down the drain the last few years. I haven't looked too much myself into Theresa May, what she was like before, but one thing is clear, that she's definitely not.
I was talking about Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, Margaret Thatcher, yeah, Margaret Thatcher. She was great. She was excellent.
If I said
Theresa, I think you said Theresa May there, but you meant Margaret Thatcher. Apologies.
I meant Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher, she was great. You know, you had Ronald Reagan as well. You know, Margaret Thatcher, she was a friend of Pinochet. Kind of, you know, you read the headlines today. I mean, Margaret Thatcher probably be put in jail for hate speech or something today.
Holy crap! I didn't think of it like that, but holy moly, Margaret Thatcher would be rolling in her grave.
Yeah, no, it's insane. And
that's the thing with analyzing history. I mean, current events. Use history and think about how people of the past would react to what's going on today. If they would flip out, you have a good reason to flip out.
I think, you know, when you look at history, I kind of got a feeling that we might be in the 20s now. You know, Jordan Peterson said that every 70 years or so, there's often a relapse into authoritarianism and dictatorships and so on. And now it's gone about 70 years since the last, since we had that loss in the West, you know, with World War II and so on. So it's kind of high time for another dictatorship to arise. And I think, apologies, a little lighting problem here. I think it's fixed there. Sorry. Yeah, I think if you look at history, it kind of feels like we are coming into the 1920s or something now. You know, it's really getting heated, and who knows what the way it will go.
It's going to, well, I can tell you what way it's going to go. It's going to go down the shitter. It's not going to get better. It is based on what we've just seen with Brittany and Lauren. It's going to get worse. And people need to wake up to that fact. This is going on now. People are being barred from entry into the UK based on being critical of Islam. And that is what Lauren was banned for. She and Brittany and Colin Robinson, I heard you just did a stream with him, or a show or whatever.
Yeah, I just did a quick stream with Kaylin to talk about what happened with Lauren. He is quite close to Lauren, so he knows what's going on.
Did he explain their Allah is a gay god?
He said that, yeah, they had this stand, basically a social experiment where they had a stand with signs saying, quote, Allah is a gay god, unquote, and that was the reason that Lauren Sudden was banned from the UK because of that. According to the document, they said that she was quote spreading racist material unquote in Luton when she did that thing with Kaylin.
And
so
I gotta point this out. Their vague wording of things like that and their detachment from reality in their reasoning, that is the left's main weapon. They want you to be scared. And then that goes all the way down to even with these bullshit documents of explaining why they're barred. They want vague enough reasoning to justify what they're doing and have enough wiggle room for it. It's all about the wording.
The thing I think is very alarming is basically, to me, it seems to be some kind of blasphemy law that they are enforcing here, because they criticized Islam, but you see leftists all the time criticizing leftists all the time mock Jesus and Christianity. They get away with that, no problem. But as soon as they mock Islam, then they are held under terrorism laws and banned from entering the country. It really, and I saw Lauren just tweeted as well, saying that, I think you saw the tweet, she said that they questioned her about being a radical Christian. And,
a radical Christian? What the fuck does that even mean, Peter? Explain what that means to me, and I want you to see. Yeah, you can't.
Well, I was actually reminded that there was there's a Christian artist. I'm a Christian myself. There's a Christian artist called Carman. It was quite big in the 90s, and he had a song called "Radically Saved." Is that what I mean by radical Christian or what? I mean, my parents, they actually have a. That's the thing. Further in the tweet, Lauren said that well, they asked her if she was a radical Christian, and then they further asked her that quote, if she wanted to quote to run over Muslims with cars, unquote. That's what they asked her, the border force, and
they have that confused. They have that confused with the trucks of peace going on in Sweden and elsewhere.
My parents, they have a sticker on their car, like a big Jesus sticker on the car. Does that make them like radical Christians with a car or something? Like, is that what they were like referencing to with Lauren or something?
Blasphemy! You're heretic. We're just gonna have to have another crusade or something. That's what it's gonna come down to.
I have a guy in the comments section here, a leftist. He asks, it's actually quite an interesting question. He says, why do you think they ask that, Peter? Alt-righters have been ramming into people like Muslims, he says. A comment from Rasmus. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. There has literally been zero terrorist attacks from Christians in history. Okay, there was something that happened in America with that Charlottesville event, but I don't really know too much what happened there. There was some guy at the event there that crashed, that rammed into some person, but I don't think he was a Christian. So to kind of
definitely not religiously motivated.
Yeah, that's the point. And it's really offensive to ask such a question. Are you a radical Christian? Do you want to ram into people with a car? I mean, if I was Lauren, I would have gotten really offended actually by that question. That's a really offensive question to ask.
Yeah, and what happens is that the Muslim community and Islam have set a precedent based on past incidents being linked to their religion. They do these things in the name of Allah. So you have mountains and mountains of, proof in that regard to be concerned about these people coming into European countries. Enough to at least vet people in the borders more strictly, because, okay, going into an European country saying, I'm going to be a terrorist, and just shrugging and letting that person go in, that's bullshit. And and everyone in the comments knows it.
Yeah, well, the thing I found interesting, I just saw a Breitbart article here. 350 returning jihadists from Syria are allowed back in the UK. But a conservative girl who basically, what she does is that she reports on those kind of things and doesn't want that to happen. Basically, the people that are questioning that are the ones that are actually getting banned from the UK.
Here's a word of advice to anyone in the left listening to this. You are only emboldening Lauren and Brittany and Martin to go even harder against you here. You are making people wake up to the bullshit. You are the ones that are making the identitarians and the people on the right unify closer together through these struggles you put on them.
I have definitely no. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed the last few days after Brittany and Martin and Lauren now has been banned from the UK. I definitely noticed the kind of right banding more and more together, uniting. It has united the right a lot more than before. You know, I've really seen it. It's really united the right, and that's only going to empower the right to become even stronger. It's really a massive backfire to do this.
Yeah, what doesn't kill people makes them stronger. And if you wanted a war, you got a war.
Well, I wouldn't advocate for war, but
I'm not advocating war, but
just a disclaimer here, so YouTube doesn't take down this video. There's no war.
The enemy's knocking on the door. You can either answer it or go hide under your bed.
It's the thing I find funny is Martin was only going to UK to have a free speech event at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, and he was banned from it. But now instead, Tommy Robinson himself is going to hold the same speech at the park, and the
authorities aren't going to let that happen. I don't trust the UK authorities enough anymore. They're going to actually stop the speech from happening. I don't know how, but that is what they're going to do.
That is the thing. If they don't arrest him or stop him beforehand, if the speech actually goes through, the thing that will happen is that it's going to get enormous attention, much more than if they just let Martin speak from the start. So that is the question: will they actually allow it to happen, or will they arrest Tommy before on some kind of made-up charges or something? That's going to be really interesting to see. I think any reasonable right-winger in the UK has to realize that basically they can't be in the UK right now. It's too hot, if you will. They are having a crackdown, a purge.
Yeah, the reality is that the UK authorities are acting against the right wing's interests and livelihoods right now. And they started with Brittany and Lauren, and they're going to come for you next. Because they cross the line from what is sensible and reasonable into unfounded territory. And if you just look at these situations from an objective point of view, you will see that.
Yeah, no, I think
it's happening.
I could kind of see this coming because, as I said before, I was actually kind of the first guy that I went after back in October. I was doxxed by Hope Not Hate, as you know, and I doxxed my family as well, which caused their dog to be poisoned by some Antifa crazy. And I can update you on that, by the way. I haven't said anything about this yet. But my parents reported this to the police, and they were extremely unwilling to help. Just like with Tommy Robinson being attacked by Antifa, they have been extremely unwilling to help. And also, Hope Not Hate, when I wrote that article doxing me, that's actually against UK law to dox people like that. So they've been taking police action to try and get them to make Hope Not Hate stop this, and they have been completely unwilling to do anything. And yeah, back in October, just like a week after I had moved to Norway, I had 6 police vans storm my house in the UK looking for me, and ever since they've been visiting my parents non-stop, harassing them, asking where I am, trying to find me. And I'm in Norway. I cannot. And that's a good
purpose. For what purpose? The sin of being the parents, the mom and dad of Peter Sweden. That's a crime now.
Basically, yes. Yes, that seems to be the only reason.
Holy shit, man.
They've had
I'm
like
surprised you're so relaxed about this.
they've had like I think I think they've had like 6 visits now by the police in the UK. One time they came at 10 o'clock at night when my little brother was going to sleep. You know, he has school the next day, and the police just comes at 10 o'clock in the night asking where I am.
Why aren't you madder?
Well, I am mad, but there's no reason to explode. But
Get your
yeah,
parents the hell out of there, man.
I'm trying to spread awareness of the situation, so there's no reason to just explode over it. By the way, just a disclaimer: I'm not literally talking about exploding. I'm just talking about not getting super mad.
You're not in Islam, so
disclaimer, yeah.
you're not going to go suicide vesting.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, no, my parents they don't feel safe anymore at all. They've been telling me, they don't feel safe. They are looking across their shoulder, every move. Is the police going to come tonight? They don't know. Is the police going to come again and arrest them for who knows what? They have no idea what's happening. So they don't feel safe at all. They feel harassed and unsafe.
Oi, mate, do you have your kitchen utensils license?
So they actually banned like Coke or something, Coca-Cola or something for people under 16 now.
Oi, mate,
Red Bull or something.
Do you have your energy drinks license? Do you have your license for your license?
Yeah, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
But seriously, they're willing to go after your parents. They're willing to go after an American, a Canadian, and it's anyone's guess now where they're going to go next with this. But the only way they're going to go is down the shitter.
I think the next step is, I would be very surprised if Tommy Robinson wasn't arrested soon. I would be very surprised.
If they do that, it's apocalypse now, man.
I think there would be quite a lot of angry people in the UK if that happened.
You want a martyr? If the UK authorities are asking this, if you want a martyr, arresting Tommy Robinson would make him a martyr. That would make him a Christ figure to people. Do you really want that on your heads? Yeah,
and that's the thing, the more they do this, the more it's going to backlash. You cannot censor, history has proven that censorship, apologies, I'm having some problems with my lamp here is too bright. I'm trying to have something in front of it so it doesn't expose my face to, look here, I take the lamp is too bright.
It's a poetic struggle between light and dark.
I try and put something in front of the light so it doesn't get too bright, but it keeps falling down.
It's okay, man. You're just so saintly that you're just emulating a glow. That's what it is. If anyone asks, that's just what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen when it comes to Tommy Robinson, I kind of seen the following he has in the UK. I went to a report on some of his marches, and a lot of people already see him as a kind of superhero, and if they really go after him, he's going to become a martyr, and I mean, he's just going to become a superstar basically. And that's the thing, is censorship is going to backlash. Look at the 20s in Germany. They put Hitler in prison. What did that do? Well, it made Hitler a superhero in the eyes of the German people at that time. So it basically was a backlash. It probably would have been better for the world if the courts back then didn't put him in jail, because then Hitler might not actually have risen to power, and we might have saved a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and we can bring up history because apparently we're making the same mistakes over and over again. You look at what's going on in South Africa, you have what's basically another apartheid situation brewing, with the tables turned against the whites now. Whereas it was the blacks up until 94, now you got the whites on the shit end of the stick getting their rights to property taken away. You can look at my Twitter feed, and I'm basically keeping a set of eyes on all that. And, I'm in touch with people on social media that are on the ground over there, seeing the government basically take people's land without compensation. And that's going on right now. That they're rolling this sort of stuff out. Crowds of people are staking claims to land just by sticks. And this Willem Petzer guy, who I've been talking to, he's been he's become really vocal these past few weeks about what's going on, and I'm really proud of his work in that regard. And the situation is just horrifying.
Yeah. No, I've seen you've been doing a lot of good work with the South Africa stuff. It takes people don't realize how much work goes into the kind of things you do. It takes a lot of time and research and so on to do this kind of. You just think it's just a tweet, but a lot of things you do takes a lot more time than people realize, and it's very good work that you've been doing on Twitter.
Oh, I should just give some context. I worked with Lauren Southern on a map of farm murders and attacks between January and February of this past year, 2018. And I mapped them out, and I correlated charts of attacks as reported by NGOs in the area. And I found social media posts to collaborate what the NGO findings were. And I basically put all that together, made a nice Twitter moment to just cap it all off, and it opened people's eyes. And I am so happy to hear that.
Yeah, no, that was excellent. And I'll leave the links, by the way, to your Twitter below so people can find you.
That's always awesome. And I want to get more politically involved. So I run by people's donations on PayPal. So any money that people send me is going straight to my war chest so I can keep fighting this good fight.
Yeah,
something that's necessary.
Yeah, no, that's really important. People don't really. Here's the thing I would like to add to that. I mean, everyone make sure to go and support Nick, because the mainstream media has billions of money to spread their propaganda. Independent journalists like us, we rely on supporters like you. So any support is highly appreciated from you guys. Basically, independent journalism is driven by the people. It's not driven by big globalist dollars, money. It's driven by the people. So it's really important to help out if you can, and anything is highly appreciated by all of us.
Down to the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. That's the only reason there's an alternative viewpoint out there, is because people talk about it. People contribute their ideas and maybe some dollars here and there to it. They help that alternative viewpoint that the mainstream doesn't want out there to go forward.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially in Sweden, for example. I'll just give a quick example, because the media in Sweden is much worse than the media you have in America and in the UK.
Everything's worse in Sweden. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but basically in Sweden, 80% of the mainstream media in Sweden is owned by the same family, the Bonner family.
No shit.
80% of the media owned by the same family. So you get basically just the same bullshit from circulated around in all of the different newspapers. So you don't get any, I'll talk about diversity so much, but you don't get any diversity of news. You don't get any diversity of opinions. That would be kind of appreciated sometimes,
Diversity doesn't mean unity. Remember that. Diversity just means a bunch of different ideas in the same toilet. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents anyway.
Yeah, it's quite a complicated topic, I think, but yeah, I think diversity is good in one sense, definitely, but when it's forced, when you force things that maybe don't work out, if you force imagine, think of it like this: if you force murderers to live among normal, decent people, okay, that would be diversity, but it probably wouldn't be too good diversity. It probably wouldn't work out very well.
I can actually have a viewpoint that's against migration in a pro-migration way. Here's how you do it. So a migrant goes to Europe seeking stability and support from that government and that system of society. But if you have all the migrants just pouring in and moving to Europe, that destabilizes the area, and it goes to a point where you get enough chaos, and then you have everything collapse. So then if Europe is gone, then why the fuck are the migrants there? Because then they're screwed too because of all this chaos.
And that's actually a thing we see a lot in Sweden from the migrants who are living in Sweden. They're actually complaining about all of this new migration that's happening, because in Sweden, here's the thing: a lot of the it's well known that the criminal gangs in Sweden mainly consist of migrants, but it's also true that actually many of the victims are actually migrants themselves. So in the no-go zone Rinkeby, for example, migrant shop owners have been staging protests and closing down their stores because there's been so many robberies and attacks by these gangs. And some people even say that, yeah, okay, I'm leaving here. I'm going back to Syria, and I'm going back to Somalia. It's safer there. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye.
That's the point.
So yeah,
how are these things better? They can come over here looking for safe harbor, and they're just getting screwed now.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, if we just take in anyone who might be a terrorist, for example, then we just screw it for everyone else, even for other migrants who might be in need of genuine refugee.
And that's why a stricter vetting process, just all in all, is a nice touch.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely have to do a lot of vetting, but it kind of seems like the UK government here is doing the wrong kind of vetting, though, on Brittany and Laura. And
again, that leads to the whole precedent set by Islamic culture. You have people killing, and remember the Manchester bombings? Remember that guy getting beheaded?
Getting beheaded? No.
2013. Guy getting beheaded.
Lee Rigby one, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's his name, Lee Rigby, I think. And the attacker just said he did it because of his religion.
I remember that one. That was quite a big deal in the UK actually back then.
Just right in the street.
And then last year in 2017, we had there was 5 terror attacks in the UK, I think. But no, Lauren Southern and Brittany Pettibone, they are bigger threats apparently. So that's the top priority. I mean, I literally cannot get over it. It's just too insane.
So Brittany Pettibone is the just sweetest person around. I worked with her on my George Soros series that we both did together. I did an article series, and we basically made videos on her channel, basically giving a visual version of it. And through God knows how many hours of work we put into that, but man, I never met someone more dedicated to contributing something of value here to this whole public discourse, whatever you want to call it. And she was willing to take the time to learn all this material, as I was, So it was a team effort all the way through and through. And people say I put in all the work. No, it was a 50-50 job. And to see my friend go through what they went through these past few days it's enough is enough. And so that's why I'm sitting here with you, Peter.
Yeah.
I see now that the only way to go is just deeper into the political world here. And I'm ready to do that.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you on Brittany. I mean, I met her, and she is one of the nicest people you can meet. And it literally couldn't happen to a nicer person that she got arrested like this for 3 days in the UK. It's really upsetting to see how it can happen like this. I went to Sicily to report on the migrant crisis there, on how the NGO vessels are actually engaging in human trafficking, bringing people out from Libya and straight up to Italy. I wasn't with the Defend Europe team, but I spoke with some of them while I was there, including Brittany, who was part of the Defend Europe mission. And I mean, they were just out there to monitor basically these NGO vessels. That they didn't do anything illegal, picking people up down in Libya and bringing them up to Italy. That's basically what they were doing.
They were fought against every step of the way during this mission. And it ended up with Martin and the Defend Europe crew being stuck off the coast of Malta. People say an NGO, Save the Children, rescued Martin and the Sea Star. No, that's bullshit. They were able to fix the problems with their vessel, I think it was on August 11th. Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but it was August 11th, and there was this big kerfuffle saying, "Oh, so these NGOs,
I remember that, yeah,
these NGO angels are coming in to save these satanic defend Europe people. But no, they solved their own problem and they went on their way, only to get stuck off the coast of Malta because Joseph Muscat, the prime minister, barred them from being able to enter just to get fuel and supplies. So they left Martin and the Defend Europe crew off the Mediterranean to die.
Yeah, that sounds really nice, I think, of them. That sounds really nice. It sounds like they're really loving and caring people. But, but that's strange. They go down and pick up migrants straight away, but they don't help these guys out at all. I thought it was supposed to be equal or something. But, yeah, no, I remember those. I actually tried to speak to when I was there in Sicily, I actually went to the Save the Children vessel. I tried to speak with them and see if they wanted to do an interview, but no, they refused.
Didn't they kick you out?
Well, I was kicked out from the harbor, but those were other vessels. I went I met the Save the Children vessel. They were at the port in Catania. I went further down south to Pozzallo or Palazzo, whatever it was called, city further down south. It was like 2 hours drive from Catania through the desert, basically. And when I came there was this, what was the name of that vessel? It was the Doctors Without Borders vessel, was the ones that had this one. And they docked with, and I think they had about 500 migrants on board, and they docked there. And after about half an hour, after like 20 minutes, it was only like 50 minutes after the boat had actually docked, that all of a sudden the police came up to me and they were like, "Oh, you have passport. What are you doing? Who are you here? Why are you here? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, here's my passport." "Oh yeah, you can't be here. You have to go. I'm like, "Okay, well, but why are these people here?" And there was actually Vice News. They were actually there as well at the same time. They weren't kicked out. They were allowed to stay, but they kicked me out. And
because they're part of the mainstream. You're not part of the mainstream.
That's the thing. And it was so funny because this lady from Vice News, she actually you had this camera guy. He was filming this reporter from Vice News. She was doing a quick speech in front of the vessel, and then they put down a camera, and she was just doing like her own private thing. She put out her private phone, just take some pictures for herself. And she was like filming, and she, I didn't get the picture on the camera because she was.
Didn't they confiscate your camera?
That was actually later on, but at this port, she was waving to the migrants, and he was like, "Yay, yay!" And that was off camera, so you kind of see they had a little bit of biased agenda here. They're not really neutral. And I tried to get my camera on her, but as soon as I did that, she was like, she stopped immediately. She didn't want anyone to see. But she was sharing on the migrants and so on behind the scenes, behind the cameras. So it kind of goes to show that they are not really, they're not neutral, they're biased.
That's because if you're mainstream, you got shackles on you about what you're going to say. I mean, I was a games journalist long enough to see that. There is a tendency through mainstream outlets and places that if you can't really stick too much out from the bunch. You have to stick to the norms and the narrative of what's expected to be said. You're not allowed to say the truth if it's outrageous.
Yeah, it seems to be like that with the mainstream media.
You can't be a problem child.
Yeah, that's the thing. You say anything wrong and then you're out because, well, they have an agenda, it seems. Yeah,
nowadays you have basically everyone campaigning for boycotts and having sponsors removed, and that problem has really come up these past couple of years en masse. Gamergate did it first, but the mainstream places, and especially the Soros-ran places like Think Progress, really picked up on it. They went really hard against the NRA, and when Seth Rich was a topic on Fox News, they went hard against Hannity, I think it was. Yeah, Sean Hannity and his sponsors because of it.
Yeah, no, the leftist activists, they have quite a smart tactic of trying to silence people by trying to shut down their advertising and money and so on. So again, that's another important reason why it's important to help support people like independent journalists like Nick. So if you can help at all, please do so. And yeah, I mean, going on to you talked about when they confiscated my camera. That was actually at the next port in Sicily. So that was I can't remember the name of that port, but it was another port a little bit further up north between Catania and Pozzallo. There was another vessel there arriving, the Phoenix. And I was there taking pictures and so on. And actually, the guys from the NGO, they actually were willing to do an interview with me. The guys, the people behind the NGO. So that looked promising. But then all of a sudden, the police came there and they demanded me to delete all footage of what happened.
Did they make you delete it?
Yeah, they forced me to delete it. Otherwise, they would arrest me, they said. So they watched over me while I deleted the footage. Otherwise, they would arrest me.
So how'd you get footage out? Because I know you got some footage out.
I got a little bit from a live stream. I did a Periscope live stream, so that was already out.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
That was all I got. Only the live stream.
Interesting.
So that was a bit interesting experience, to put it the least. And and the funny thing is, sorry, go on.
You can draw parallels between what happened there and what's going on now. They were very pro towards these migrants and immigrants, and very much against anyone questioning that narrative. And that sort of same thing is happening with Lauren and Brittany from being able to enter the UK. It doesn't matter where it is. This stuff is still happening.
Yeah, do you know what I think? I've been thinking it might actually be these Hope Not Hate guys that might be responsible for lobbying to try and get these guys.
I know it is. I freaking know it. I don't have any, I just know in my gut it's them, because they were the ones who manipulated the situation against the Defend Europe guys before in the Mediterranean. And that has a lot of, factual backing to it. So with that sort of precedent they set back then, that sort of desperation and that sort of basic push against this alternative media, I would bet all the money in the world that they were responsible for what happened to Brittany and Lauren.
Yeah, because then, you saw back in the Sicily thing, they completely went bananas over it. They completely lost everything about when the Sicily mission happened. And not only them, but it seems like governments and so on they completely lost it. They really had something against that mission for whatever reason. And I think the reason that I got doxxed and they wrote that article about me, the Hope Not Hate people, is because I was there in Sicily reporting on the NGO stuff and the human trafficking.
They isolated you. They isolated you as an outlier because you weren't really part of the main Defend Europe identitarian group, but you were still there and enough of a scapegoat. That is the mentality they had. I shit you not. This is probably their mindset. That is what they thought. And that's why they singled you out.
Yeah, no, and yeah, it seems like ever since then, these Hope Not Hate people have been going after everyone who was in Sicily working there.
How many times did they go after Brittany? The only time I ever had a Soros group go after me is really recently. I got my first time in the Media Matters for America article because of the work I helped Lauren with. But Brittany, 1, 2, 3, 4 times off the top of my head since August. Various Soros connected groups have vied to take her down a peg. And that shit's dangerous. I mean,
didn't Media Matters, they wrote an article, I think, no?
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah. I know Media Matters wrote an article about me recently as well.
Did they call you a bright person?
Sorry.
Did they call you a bright person because of your light?
They called me all sorts of things. They said, what did they say? They said, I can't remember. They said there was so much lies I cannot even start. It was just complete bullcrap. Complete bullcrap.
In the South Africa bit, they wrote about me. They didn't say I was wrong about anything. They just actually talked about my work, and I was like, wow, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I felt so humbled to be recognized by a Soros-funded group. I feel like I made it.
yeah, yeah. No, that's the thing. They don't really come with any arguments. They just say call in names. They don't try and rebut your facts or anything at all. They just call in names and hope hope people will believe them. That's basically it.
They tiptoe. Oh, I see we have a new friend.
Hello,
Hello.
Steven.
Hey, I'm Steve Franson. Nick, good to meet you.
Welcome
Howdy.
to the show. Welcome to the stream.
Thanks.
So who are you, Mr. Franson?
Mr. Franson, well, I am a consultant. I'm living in Salt Lake City. I was on a show called This Week on the Alt-Right for a while, and I get around. I know a few people, so MAGA.
Pleasure to meet you.
He's a guy I know. So yeah, I just thought it'd be good to invite Steve Franson as well. I think you might have some interesting things to say on what we're talking about. So to get some more diversity in the stream. We need some more diversity. So thank you so much for coming, Stephen.
Oh, thanks for having me, Peter.
So yeah, tell me, man, what do you think about what happened to Brittany and Lauren?
Well, I think it's, on principle, it's absolutely atrocious. I think it's something we all need to be outraged about, and it's something we all need to speak out about and put our best efforts toward trying to mend. The UK is closing down, and this should be a cause for consternation for anyone that loves freedom and anyone who loves the West. So I just tweeted out today, I said, the UK has basically become a Muslim pedophile state. And this is, you know,
I can't disagree.
Right. And, yeah, and by all practical means, it is. So to ban Brittany and Lauren are very sweet people. They're very kind, nice people. I've met them, and
me too.
And they're generous folks. So it's getting really absurd at this point. I mean, Peter, you will often point out the absurdity of Sweden and all the bombings and all the problems they're having, and it just never ends. And it's starting to pick up at that pace in the UK. There's just starting to be one absurdity after another.
Yeah, no, I agree. It seems like the UK is turning into Sweden at this. Well, I'm actually going to say that I think when it comes to free speech and so on, I think the UK is now worse than Sweden. I'm officially going to say the UK is worse than Sweden when it comes to free speech and things like this. But when it comes to the attacks and so on, I mean, I saw London had like a 20% increase in rapes the last year or something, and 500 acid attacks.
It's unbelievable.
Those grooming gangs, I mean, having another bombshell of a situation like that come out, it really doesn't help their image any. And I feel like we've crossed the line of sanity and into insanity, and that's why things have really picked up, because that's what the line is. And when people say we've crossed the line, it's the sanity line, and we've gone into cuckoo town is what's going on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Once it became clear that Brexit wasn't going to go through, I mean, or they're going to litigate it and, you know, try to do another vote and stuff like this, I think that the mask is off now from the elites, particularly in the UK. I don't think they're trying to hide anything anymore. I think they're just going full bore. And we just saw Paul Golding and Jada Franson sentenced.
That's right.
Yeah, 3 or 4 month sentences or something like this.
Or it was they got a total of 24 months, I think it was. Combined. Total of 24 months combined, I think. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if you saw into the details of what they actually did, but the only thing that they did was that they basically went after people who had been in grooming gangs. So, for example, one case there was a guy who had raped young girls, and they went to his house and standed outside shouting, and they put like leaflets in his letterbox. And they got prison for it. Like, what? Like what? What's the deal here?
I can tell you what the deal is. The deal is that there is now a bias that is against Islam. That is, if you don't subjugate yourself to the whims and fancies of the Islamic culture, you are now a target. That's it. That's the bottom line. Not about right wing or left wing. It's about submission to Islam, and they want you to submit to it.
Well, I think you know, I don't know if you saw Stephen. Kaylin tweeted out it was actually right there on the paper. I read the paper that they gave Laura when she was deported from the UK. It said that the reason she was banned was because she was, quote, spreading racist material when she was in Luton. And what did she do in Luton? Well, the photo is actually up on Kaylin's Twitter. Kaylin tweeted about it. They had a stand there with the leaflets on it saying, quote, Allah is a gay god, unquote. And they were handing them leaflets out as a social experiment, Kaylin told me. And that apparently is the reason why they held her under the Terrorism Act, where she is, what did he say? She must answer all questions that the police had. She has to completely do everything they say, let them search her belongings, answer all questions they might have. She's not allowed to refuse to answer at all. If she does, then they'll prosecute her and so on. But it's like North Korea law. Like basically, you have to comply. Period. You're not allowed to.
I pulled up what they gave her. It's called the Schedule 7 Terrorism Act 2000 Public Information Pamphlet. Police officers' reports play a key role in countering the terrorist threat and have powers under Schedule 7 to the Terrorism Act 2000 to stop, question, and search, and if necessary, detain people entering or leaving the UK. And terrorists need to travel in order to plan, prepare, and commit their crimes. Schedule 7 legislation is used by police officers to determine whether a person appears to be or has been concerned in terrorism. When an encounter extends beyond a short period of time, this process is commonly known as examination. Our overriding priority is to keep the public safe by working together with all our communities to defeat terrorism. And then there's this huge Schedule 7 pamphlet that goes into answer questions put to you by the examining officer. Give the examining officer any information in your possession which the officer requests. Give the examining officer on request either a valid passport, which includes a photograph, or another document which establishes your identity. Declare all documents. Give the examining officer on request any document which you have with you and is of a kind specified by the officer. So basically, give your life story to them and cooperate.
But under normal law, aren't you supposed? You should be. I mean, under normal law, you should be allowed to refuse to answer questions without a lawyer present. You know, you should be allowed to refuse to answer questions. No, isn't that the way it's in America, Stephen?
It's in America, yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
But
I mean, during the interrogation, they're asking her how she feels about running Muslims over with a truck. It's just total madness. It's Lauren Southern, you know. But I think the thing we have to be, something we need to be concerned about, and I'll never forget this, is that I remember Kanye West going off the script at one of his shows somewhere around the time that Donald Trump was elected. And he sort of ranted about Jay-Z, and he ranted about the Matrix, and how Facebook and Google were lying to people, and so on and so forth. And they took him. They took him in a paddy wagon, and put him in a psychiatric hospital. And he hasn't been the same since. He's been awfully quiet, awfully, sedate. And I'm sure they did something to him in there. And so this is a real potentiality. I mean, someone like Lauren or someone else that is prominent could be taken at the border, and they could decide, okay, we want to do some enhanced interrogation things. We want to do something different with you. It's
enhanced interrogation.
Right. It's this close. I mean, it sounds like things are really up to the discretion of the interviewing officers. So what's it, you got 4 corrupt guys in one building, and they decide to take someone into the back room and do some things to them. So I don't see it as some small thing. I think a lot of people were nagging us and saying, oh, they're just being drama queens and da-da-da-da-da. But it's what this opens the door up to, and what
it represents.
Done.
Yeah, I got the transcript here for Kanye West's rant. I'll just read the 2 paragraphs related to what you just said. People, I'm not saying this out of my own well-being, because it wouldn't be smart out of my own well-being to say things like this. Radio, I done talked to you a bunch of motherfucking times. Y'all motherfuckers is behind the times, because guess what? The St. Pablo tour is the most relevant shit happening. The St. Pablo tour is more relevant than radio. And if y'all keep following old models, your ass is going to be Hillary Clinton. You might not like it, but they gotta hear it. I ain't here to message you with a fake truth telling you that Hillary going to win over and over and over, and then you wake up and you still can't believe it. You know why? Because you was lied to by Google. You was lied to by Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, you want to call me now? Do I got the vision, Mark Zuckerberg? Was you wrong when I said I was 53 million in debt and you didn't call me? Was you wrong? You ate dinner. You asked my friend Anthony Skiller to have dinner with me. I told you about Donda. You said you would help and you didn't. Then you went to look for aliens.
Was this after he was taken into?
No, this is what got him taken in. Me and Kid Cudi are aliens right here, bro. The vibes is back. And then he turns to his DJ. Take it all the way back to the beginning. Shia LaBeouf, Kid Cudi feels away. Give him a call.
Okay, yeah, so he was really onto something. Well, it was a bit of a problem there. He could potentially red pill the masses, basically. So
the same Mark Zuckerberg that said to Angela Merkel, "Hey, if there's any anti-migrant posts on Facebook, I'll take them down for you."
Yeah, no, that's actually a really scary possibility that you brought up. I haven't actually thought much of that before, that they might actually come in with some underhand tactics, potentially, you know, against some public people. That's actually quite a scary thought, you know. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before.
Right. That's the approach they took. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll just say that, you know, there are whispers and rumors that float around that these deep state operatives can take anybody. They can take anybody, break their minds with drugs and with torture, and then send them on missions and send them to send messages and stuff like this. And so it's just not so far out of the realm of possibility. If you know anything about the MK Ultra, you know, operation and some of the programming in the messages and the sort of predictive programming and the manipulation psyop stuff that they do, they could take a Lauren Southern, they could load her down with psych drugs, torture the shit out of her, and then have her whistle in a different tune. You know, and they could do that in 2-3 weeks. I mean, that's the time span they had Kanye West in that hospital. I mean, I don't mean to get conspiratorial here, but I really do think it's within the realm of possibility. So, and you know, something that I'll say one more thing is that it did come out pretty clearly that the deep state guys are using these people. They're sort of taking people, slipping Mickeys in their drinks, then putting them in hotel rooms and taking pictures of them with underage children. And that's how they control a lot of politicians and celebrities. So we're not so far out of that realm anymore. It's getting really, really kooky.
Well, why do you think everyone was scared shitless when Brittany Pettibone was basically captured and detained? You don't know what the hell these people are going to do, where they're going to take them. So that's why people needed eyes on them 24/7, because if we didn't, then they could have just vanished her.
Right. And it could happen to you. That's the other thing too, is like, don't think that you're so, I mean, not you, Nick, but just anybody out there. You know, what are you looking at? I mean, Google's tracking what you're looking at. Have you gone to 4chan and you haven't been on a VPN? Google knows that.
Use Brave.
Yeah, use Brave. I mean, Google's tracking this stuff. They're putting together profiles, and they give this to law enforcement, and then they sort of detain people at the border based on this stuff. One guy coming in the U.S. tweeted about like a bomb in an airport, and they caught him right away. They caught him right when he landed in Dallas or something like this, and then they turned him back. So the UK Border Patrol, they're very competent. They have all the information they need.
You know, I'm going to say this. You know how did the UK, Lauren, she was actually taking a bus in to the UK under the tunnel. She was taking a bus in, so after she was going to fly in, but after what happened to Brittany, she cancelled the flight and decided to take a bus instead, because
they still fucking found her.
So yeah, and that's the thing. They still found her. They actually came in on the bus and singled her out. Yeah, we want you, Lauren. They knew she was on the bus. They came on the bus, singled her out in front of all the passengers, and said, "Yeah, you come with us." They actually knew she was coming in, even though she had cancelled the flight and she was taking the bus instead. How did they know? How did they know? Did they get it straight from the booking company? Perhaps. Did they monitor conversations? And that's how they knew. I don't know. Maybe she had told Tommy that she was going to take the bus. Maybe that's how they found out. You know.
I was a Google trusted flagger, and I can pretty much verify that Google has the capability and capacity to do what people are afraid of, because I've seen Google staff talk about it firsthand. and how they are able to manipulate their system however they want. Even the finest little detail they can manipulate, like thumbnails. They can take away your thumbnails if they wanted to, just for the hell of it. Nothing is safe. Everything can be manipulated in their favor. If I had to give a general description, I was only in the Trusted Flagger program for a few years, but if you want to learn one of the lessons that I picked up there, that's it. They can manipulate everything.
I think it's a big word of caution to people in the UK. If you care about freedom and you're in the UK, I think you really have to take care of yourself. And I think you have to take this very seriously. They are, Peter, as you know, I mean, they're sending terrorism police to your family's house and stuff like this. And Tommy Robinson's getting harassed endlessly. I mean, the hammer's coming down.
Well, you remember what I told you a couple of months ago, Stephen, the things happening. Well, you maybe know why now.
Yeah.
I knew this was coming. So yeah, that's why the things happened that happened a few months ago.
It shows the priorities of the UK government. I mean, Lauren Rose here, someone I follow on Twitter and just really enjoy as a person, she says the detentions and deportations of Martin Sellner, Brittany Pettibone, and Lauren Southern demonstrate competence on the part of the UK border force. They easily detain white wrong thinkers, but somehow jihadis slip through. And if that doesn't prove intention, I don't know what will. So 23,000 jihadis in the UK right now. Are they getting guns from the UK? It's starting to come out that Hillary might have been running guns for ISIS. Who could be providing guns for jihadis within the UK right now? Where are they storing their guns? This is what the police should be cracking down on, but instead they're cracking down on nice people who make compelling arguments. So it's topsy-turvy.
Good people, innocent people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's the thing I find so insane. They have 20,000 Islamic extremists roaming the streets in the UK. They have returning ISIS terrorists. They have grooming gangs. They ban conservative girls. It's just like
it's implicit acknowledgement. They know what they're doing when they decided to do what they did to Brittany and Lauren and Martin. They know what they're doing, and you know they know what they're doing now. So take that information and run with it. Use it to solidify your stances and political beliefs against this system, because here it is in the flesh. You can see it right in front of you. This isn't conspiratorial. This is happening. I'm sorry. I get a little Ron Pauli here and there.
Yeah, no, it's you really have to start to realize that something is wrong. I mean, these people in the government, they don't like you. They want you gone. They want you in the gulag. They want you disappeared.
They think you smell. They think you smell and you should shower. Because they're sick bastards and they're petty bastards and they care about shit like that.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think it's just insane what's happening, and that's why we're doing this stream, to hopefully wake people up and red pill people. I mean,
if this doesn't wake you up, nothing will, because it's right in front of your face and it is in the most immediate of terms possible. There is no straw grasping. There's no conclusions, that you have to imagine. It's just all right there, right in front of you. And if you don't see it, then you're just a fool.
And well, it just came out in the Mirror that Britain's worst ever, quote, worst ever grooming gang scandal was exposed, and this was in a town called Telford, and it went on for 40 years. I think this just broke yesterday. Up to 1,000 children could have suffered in Britain's worst known abuse scandal, where sex gangs targeted girls as young as 11. And
where was the vigilant police? Where were they? Where were the vigilant police that cracked down on Brittany and Lauren? Sounds like they would have been great there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, social workers knew about this in the 90s. So this is just carried on and on and on. And I'll hope to sort of activate people's white knight almonds here a little bit. this country is now developing a reputation for the sexual abuse of little girls. And that really is not a far stretch from beautiful young women. Lauren and Brittany are both beautiful young women. And, you know, it could just take a few sort of corrupt cops to take them into a back room and sexually abuse them and then send them on their way. And then these guys could have a lot of immunity, because it looks like the UK government is siding with jihadis and siding with pedophiles. So these guys could get away with something like this. This would be an international outrage.
I hate it. And I hate it when people talk like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it gets the almonds going, but I think it has to be said.
I think, did you see what happened when they released Lauren from, they just left her just outside of it, no transport, no money, and she had to walk alone to Calais. And the thing is, they have all of these migrant camps there at Calais, roaming the streets there, trying to jump onto trucks, and they just left Lauren out there all by herself. That's a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, she's, you know, ripe for the picking. I mean, she's a beautiful blonde woman, and you know, I know she'd fight like hell, but it's not going to make a difference when the demographics are the way they are in the UK. It's becoming a caliphate. I mean, it's sort of becoming an embarrassment. It's starting to reach German levels, and in Germany, they can at least protest. They can at least sort of gather in the hundreds and go out and protest against Merkel and the Islamization of their society. But in the UK, you put up a table and you take the piss out of Allah a little bit. You say he's gay, and the next thing you know, you're banned from the country. So the UK is, I think, it's reaching Soviet levels of tyranny. There's no room for wrongthink anymore in the UK.
I will never forget yesterday and the day before how worried Brittany's sister Nicole was when I talked to her on the phone. And Brittany called me like 9 times throughout all this. And that's good, because check-in systems like that are perfect to make sure that the authorities don't do some of the horrible, horrible things that Mr. Franson here has mentioned. That when she landed back in Austria, I felt like such a sigh of relief that she was out of the clutches of whatever horror, unspeakable horror could have happened there.
Yeah, we have to look out for our people. These are freedom-loving people. These are good people. They're just salt of the earth people. They have above average intelligence and above average courage, but they're just good people. This isn't, you know, these aren't like superheroes going into the fire. These are folks. These are our people, and we really have to look out for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one thing I just thought of, you know, Generation Identity. They just launched a branch in the UK a couple of months ago, and you know, I'd be really surprised if they lost out this year without being described as some kind of terrorist group. You know, they started doing this in the UK. There was this group called Natural Action, which was banned as a terrorist group. Now, I don't agree with Natural Action at all. I think they are stupid. They are not. They were actual National Socialists, so they were actual Nazis. I don't agree with them at all. But it's really sketchy to start banning groups because you disagree with their opinions. And this kind of leads the way to kind of a boiled frog situation where Generation Identity is likely, I think they're going to get banned soon in the UK. I can feel it happen.
I know it. Last November, there was a documentary done by ITV, backed by Hope Not Hate, against Generation Identity, and they lumped them in with extremist groups, or an extremist group. I think the other one was Britain First, but there was this other extremist group, and they lumped them all together as just Nazis with a broad brush.
Yeah, it fizzled. Thankfully, it fizzled. The numbers were terrible, and I don't think it even made it to torrent sites. So the ITV expose fell on its butt. But you know, these people that are
that's not the point. That's where it begins. Just a simple documentary like that is enough of a backing officially to start nudging for bigger and bigger things. It's a snowball effect. I'm sorry, you're going to say something. Continue.
Well, I was going to say exactly that. And also they're going to get government funding. I mean, it's now part of the establishment's direct aim to squash these kind of groups. So, you know, it's already hard enough, but then to get the media arm of the government going after you, it's such an uneven playing field. These people are so threatened. You know, these are citizen journalists. These are people that have a good conscience, and they spend a lot of money going to different countries trying to spread the truth. And they don't have major backing like these government groups do. And so it just shows you how threatened people are by Lauren Southern's message, by Brittany Pettibone's message. We're not talking about frothing at the mouth, racist sort of people running flags around with swastikas. We're just talking about nice ladies that wear some makeup and they talk about the truth. That's how threatened these people are.
Brittany, if you're watching this, you're such a dork and everyone knows it. And it's great. I'm serious. She's got like just the most dorky sense of humor ever, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's I have to agree with what Steven said there before, that, you know, they're going after journalists like this. You know, it's yeah, I spoke with Kaylin before, and both him and me are extremely worried. We both think that Tommy Robinson will definitely be next. I mean, there's a big chance they're going to try and cook up something against him. I'm extremely worried for the future of Britain here. They seem to be cracking down hard on anything they disagree with. And but I don't. But as I said to Nick here before you joined, Stephen, that this is only going to cause a backlash. You know, people are going to see this, and it's just going to cause a backlash. Nick here himself, he's decided to start pushing back here, but just because of this, you know, they've got yet another guy popping up here in Nick, who's going to start.
I'm going to be a problem child.
Good. Yeah, I mean, these people are. I wonder if they sort of, if Google cooks the stats a bit. I wonder if they limit the stats. And I wonder if they sort of take away people's subscribers and just give people that are freedom activists and citizen journalists and stuff like this, give them the impression that they're not getting the reach that they actually are, and sort of putting
they are
people. So
it's a fact. You're stating it like it's a maybe. No, they're doing it. They're doing it, and they're doing it hard.
Right. How much would you estimate that they do?
It's that sweet middle spot of not enough where you know it's bullshit, but they put a clamp down as hard as they can and as much as they possibly can, algorithmically. You know the word I'm saying. To basically think your message isn't going out. And they have experts and they have people dedicated towards this sort of minute seeming bullshit. This is what they focus on all day over at Google.
That's scary stuff.
Well, and even with that, people are regularly outperforming CNN, MSNBC.
Oh yeah.
I think one of these Worski streams recently had more people watching it live than one of the major networks. So
it's on YouTube's front page.
Yeah, the truth is getting out there, but I think it also underscores. I want to go back to this point I was making, that it could happen to you. And I made a video recently. I made a video yesterday, sort of talking about this situation. I said this could happen to you. This was pre-crime. This was like Minority Report pre-crime. Lauren actually hadn't done anything yet. Is you were doing this table where they cooked up whatever they could. Brittany and Martin hadn't even spoken yet. They hadn't even gone to Hyde Park or wherever it was that they were going to do what they were going to do. So this is pre-crime. It could happen to you. And if this doesn't shake you up, I mean, you're blackpilled beyond all belief. You who are watching, you have to do more. I think it's a call to arms. It's a call to the info war, the culture war. Every person who starts a platform, every person who writes an essay, talks about the news, reaches somebody, hey, a few hundred views is better than nothing. And so any way that you can contribute, whether it's donating or whether it's, starting your own platform, talking about these things. Otherwise, they'll take like 8 people out. They'll take like 20 prominent people out, and they'll be done with it. It'll be one fell swoop, and that will be the end of the freedom movement. and it would have been too easy for them. So this, I think, has to galvanize people. It has to bring people together and make them ever more active.
Screw it, Stephen. I'll take you up a notch. It's not a could, it's a will happen to you. This is not a maybe. This is a definite thing that is going to happen at this point. We have crossed that line of sanity and into insanity. It is going to happen to the rest of you. This is just the beginning of that.
Yeah, and it never was. It's never been different than this. It's always been this way. Like the establishment has always clamped down on people. Someone who wrote about World War II from a slightly different angle, David Irving, he had a bit of sort of universal empathy going on, and the establishment was really terrified by him. He has been hounded with lawfare. I mean, for decades and decades, the establishment has gone after him with lawyers. They will ruin your life. They will empty your bank account. We just saw General Flynn had to put up his house for sale to pay legal bills. This guy did a major solid for Trump and Pence, and he took the bullet for the administration. And I think he was very instrumental in weeding out some of the nasty people that were on the National Security Council. He has to sell his house. So the liberals know right now they have Mueller, however the hell you say his name. I've heard his name said a million different ways. They have this guy. He is a sort of icon for them, and they know they can hammer freedom activists with lawfare. So it really can happen to you. You can get a summons, you can get a subpoena, and you can go and you can be sort of put in court and gone through the process and have to hire a defender and do all this stuff and spend ungodly amounts of money. So look at the money you have in your bank account and ask yourself, how long is this going to last me in legal bills? They'll do it to you.
Mine's not going to last very long. Mine is not going to last very long.
Right. I don't know that mine would last too long, but that's the fight. I mean, it's either this, you lose all your money and they drain you with lawfare, and
they drain you of your dignity if you do it the other way.
They try to take your children. I mean, they try to take Alex Jones's children from him. It's either you step through the fire and you step up and you try to save the planet, try to save civilization. Or civilization is going to fizzle. It just fizzles out. Things get really boring. They microchip us. We get put on meal plans and universal income, and our travel gets restricted. And it's just the other alternative is so terrible. So it's
the first step is accepting the world's an ugly place and everything's not sunshine and rainbows. After that, a lot of things are easy to realize.
The things, though, when you talked about censorship here before, and the thing I think, though, is that I don't think it will succeed, because you look through history, censorship has never worked. They tried it in the Soviet Union, it eventually collapsed. They tried it they tried it in Germany, it eventually didn't last there either. They tried censorship different places in the world. It's always collapsed, especially, North Korea, they have been going for quite a while, but I don't think they're going to last forever. It's eventually going to crack there as well. And, they can ban Lawrence Sudden off Twitter. They can ban Paul Watson off Twitter. They can ban off YouTube. It's not going to stop the movement. It's not going to stop. You cannot stop an idea whose time has come. You cannot stop a movement. You cannot stop an idea. It's more than just people on Twitter and people on YouTube. It's a movement.
We need our Guy Fawkes mask right now or something.
Yeah, no. So I don't think the more censorship they're going to do, the more the backlash is going to happen, because it's physically impossible to censor, especially with the internet. There's just going to be new people popping up. The information is going to get out there, no matter how hard they try and censor it. So.
And I gotta hand it to the public. You guys are pretty damn good about sniffing out bullshit and knowing the truth from fiction. You have that head on your shoulders and are able to be pretty damn savvy when it comes to realizing these things. I have faith in you, and we have faith in you in that regard. I think we can all agree to that.
Except maybe Swedish people now. Maybe I think they can mix with many Swedish people have just they've gone too far. I don't know.
Sweden. I'm sorry.
The leftists also have this thing in their playbook. They have the psychology establishment. They have the psychiatric industry in their pocket. And so the thing they were going to try to do with Donald Trump, and they tried to work it through the press, and it just fell flat because people were really attuned to this. They were going to try to do this 25th Amendment, president is unfit to serve sort of thing. And they can do this to regular folk. And it's, we're a hop, skip, and jump away from, in Islam, they do this female genital mutilation thing. So we're not that far removed from this East and West sort of thing meeting where we have all the socialist lefties from the West. I would argue it's not really a Western sort of movement, but let's just go with it for the sake of the example. We have this psychiatric movement from the left, from the socialists, meeting this barbaric totalitarianism from Islam. And so those two coming together could sort of create this interesting mix in the UK where they start sterilizing people for being mentally unhealthy and doing this sort of like clamping down on dissidents this way. So it's sort of one step past that psychiatric hospital thing where they scramble your brain. They could sterilize Tommy Robinson. It's not so far-fetched, people. I know I sound like this crazy conspiratorial person.
No, I agree with you.
People, nab them off the ground, nab them off the street. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I agree with you. They actually had the retiring anti-terrorism officer in the UK. I forget his name. He actually suggested that they should take away children from right-wing extremists. And with right-wing extremists, he actually mentioned someone that was a right-wing extremist, and that was Tommy Robinson.
What the fuck? I'm sorry, but what the fuck? I mean,
no,
yeah.
It's an article. It's on Breitbart and on other news sources as well. He actually he's the outgoing anti-terrorism officer, and he says that they need to do more to deal with these right-wing extremists. And Tommy Robinson is one of these right-wing extremists. He said that in a sentence, and in the next sentence he says we should take away the children from them into social services because these people can radicalize the children. And
it's just weird hearing that out loud, man. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility anymore, but it's just weird to hear that out loud.
I think, was it Margaret Mead that started Planned Parenthood? I can't remember, but the lady who started Planned Parenthood was a total lefty socialist. Hey, man, it's an easy way to kill off right-wingers. Just cut them out of the gene pool. And there's concentration. I mean, they can do it with one injection. So...
Well, that's what they do in China. If you get more than one kid, they sterilize you by force. So, yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm still new here. So I'm still taking this shit kind of hard.
Did you see? Do you guys know Diane Abbott, the shadow Home Secretary in the UK? She's for the Labour Party. So basically, if Jeremy Corbyn of the Labour Party, if he wins next election, which he looks likely to do, he's leading in the polls. Then this Diane Abbott woman will become the next Home Secretary in the UK. So she'll decide on internal affairs basically in the UK. She said on TV a couple of years ago, I think it was like 1 or 2 years ago. He said on TV, quote, "Mao, on balance, Mao did more good than harm." She said this right on TV, and this woman is likely the next Home Secretary of the UK.
Right. Like, it sounds like the Nazi Germany had that. They had a governor. They had one guy that was sort of in, I forget his name, but he was the one that was most directly sort of culpable for the death camps and stuff, and he was the guy that was in charge of internal affairs in Nazi Germany. So we could have this like feminist Nazi lady running over the UK, it sounds like.
And the only reason that's in the realm of possibility is because after World War II, they needed people to fill these bankers and administrative positions with those who had experience. And that's how some of the Nazis were able to get off from death penalties and stuff like that. They took jobs in those administrative positions.
Right. Well, and it took loads of Nazis to America as well, to work as scientists because they had so much technology. The guy who built the rocket that went to the moon, he was a Nazi, Werner von Braun.
He was, yeah. He lived in the States afterwards. And, you know, statism is this sort of blanket of shame. We have so much government in the West right now. We have a government problem. We just have way too much government. And so these people can sort of disappear into the folds of statism, into these government sectors. I mean, the EU has something like over 1,000 unelected lifetime sort of pencil pushers there in Brussels. They have just all these unelected politicians.
Red tape, red tape, red tape, red tape.
Yeah, and they're there forever. And I think the UK is become that way, and many of the other major states in Europe. So I'm sort of a libertarian at heart in a lot of ways. We do have a major government program. Immigration is a big government program right now. We are not fundamentally at war with Islam so much as we are at war with the power elite in our own countries. And they're allowing Islam in.
The communists, it's the communists that are the problem. The cultural Marxists, they are the problem. Migrants are not the problem. Muslims are not the problem. Islam is not the problem. The problem is the leftist communists infiltrating our countries and causing all problems that we see, basically.
Imposing
that's the real problem.
On the people against their will, without any sort of vote, without any sort of consent.
Right.
I'm serious. Anyone in the audience, take a moment to reflect. And did you vote for any of this? Did you consent to any of it? Did you want any of this to happen? The answer is no. It's a definite no. It's not a maybe no. It's a definite no. And yet it happens anyway because someone else is making decisions for you and fucking you.
Right. Well, a few people in the chat are pointing out it was Heinrich Himmler. I'd forgotten his name. I haven't brushed up on my World War II history in a few months. It was Heinrich Himmler. So there could be some corollaries between Diane Abbott and Heinrich Himmler. Now, from my saying that, if I were on UK soil, I think I would be getting a visit from the terrorism police right now. You know, instead I'm living in sunny Utah and just sort of enjoying my life. So I know the freedoms we have here in the United States, and I don't take them for granted. I mean, I want to fight extra hard for England. I think that a lot of these freedom activists understand this, and they're going repeatedly to South Africa. They're going repeatedly to Europe to try to fight where the fire is the most intense. We know we have these freedoms here. Even Canada is a bit more free than Europe, than Western Europe in some regards. So we
I don't know. It
might be a wash. It might be a wash at this point. It's getting real bad in
debatable.
Canada. Yeah.
It's a race to the bottom, and that is not a race you want. You want to be fighting that race. The fact that this race is here to the bottom of the cultural toilet,
yes,
it should concern you as a citizen of this goddamn planet.
I'll say though. You said that the whole of Europe is not the whole. I mean, there's some positives in Europe. You know, you have Poland, Hungary, the Eastern European countries. They're quite good. I'm also going to say, Norway is the best Western country that is right now. Norway is the most traditionalist, it's the most conservative, it's the most patriotic, and Norway actually has written in the constitution. The Norway actually has free speech in the constitution, similar to America, and Norwegians are extremely patriotic. I cannot tell you how many Norwegians I've seen who have like Norwegian hats with the Norwegian flag all over it. There's Norwegian flags everywhere. I've been telling Lauren Sudden that she should come. Lauren told me that they should come here to Norway on the 17th of May on the Independence Day, because literally everyone in Norway comes out in parades. They dress up in traditional clothes, like traditional dresses, traditional national clothes, and they go around with Norwegian flags, and they have big marches and parades, and they sing the Norwegian national song and so on and so on. It's amazing to see.
It sounds like something I'd see on a postcard.
Yeah, it is, and it's basically only Norway is like basically only the only Western European country that does this. Norway is definitely the most conservative Western European country for sure. And actually, here's the thing: Norway is not in the EU, so.
Oh, thank God! They're safe.
And because of that, Norway doesn't actually like America. You know, in America, they never hand out their own citizens to other countries who request them. Norway is actually the same. Norway never hands out its own citizens to any other country ever. Period. So they very much care about their own people in that sense. I just saw the United Kingdom. I think it was last year they handed out like 16,000 of their own citizens out to other countries that wanted them handed out. Germany, Spain, France, whatever. They just want to just hand them out freely. Norway, they refuse to hand out a single one of their own citizens.
What do you mean? Like it's some sort of immigration deal or whatever?
Like extradition.
No, like extradition. Like if like Britain, they handed out 16,000 of their own citizens in extraditions to other countries who wanted them tried for whatever. But Norway, they don't hand out a single person.
Oh, God bless Norway.
Yeah, Norway's lovely.
it's a lot of nice.
I don't know if I've told you, Peter, I'm a 6 Norwegian, so I'm always really happy when Norway comes up. I feel this sort of pride.
I'm gonna say one thing that there's been I can clarify if people people watching this, if they don't know already, there's been some fake news being spread by Hope Not Hate. They claimed I was British in their smear article about me, and they claimed I was Norwegian as well. Well, I'm gonna say, here's the thing: I'm ethnically Swedish, but I was born in Norway. And after I moved here to Norway, I actually found out that I actually had a Norwegian citizenship lying around that I didn't know about. So I'm actually dual citizen. I'm actually both Swedish and Norwegian. So that's pretty good for me because that means I'm in Norway. Norway they're not going to hand me out to any other country. So if the UK wants me extradited to the UK for some kind of hate speech or something, that's not going to happen. So I'm happy for that at least. So I take that. Thank you very much.
Hell yeah. You gotta take those wins where you get them, especially these days.
Yeah, because I would not put it past the UK government to try and extradite me for hate. As you know, I had 6 police vans storm my house in the UK back in October, looking for me, and I've been harassing my parents and so on. 6 times now. They've been continuing to harass my parents even now. Whenever it's insane. So
you're such a threat. You're such a threat, apparently.
Yeah. For some reason, they don't like it. They don't like me. So yeah, it's they at least I got the Norwegian citizenship, so that was good. I did not know about that before, but still, I'm ethnically Swedish, so I'm not British at all or anything like that. But yeah,
too much charm. That's what pissed them off.
Yeah, no, they thought. Sorry, go on.
No, you're a healthy person, and anybody who can put together a sustained effort for freedom tends to end up being a healthy person relative to the norm. And so we have this society that's been bogged down, the civilization, Western civilization, that's been bogged down with big government for since probably the 30s or the 40s. And so there's this whole swath of the population that is extremely government dependent. And they've even developed this thing that's called the work resistant personality. They want to stay on the dole. They want to stay on welfare. This is how they're sort of conditioned to be. This is how they are now genetically at a genetic level. And so a lot of them are agents of the government. They're in government. They're not just receiving these checks and lazing around in their couches. And these people know the gig is up. These people know that they sort of sense it on the horizon that a kind of gene death is coming for them. Once the government funny money runs out, once the central banks are purged, and thanks to the internet, we know the stranglehold that central banks have over our societies. So
don't get me started. Don't get me started on the Tower of Babel. Oh yeah, man.
They're trying to erect the tower to, their Satan and their false idols and all this. But
you did know the EU building is actually built to look like the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and
this is what they want.
If you want some sort of proof that this is going on, look towards South Africa, where there's basically a government regime taking land away from the whites and holding it in perpetuity and dispersing it out to the blacks, and yet the blacks don't have the same farming skills to be able to work the land at the same capacity the whites do. So they still get on government welfare anyway. So you basically have this communist state of land being dispersed out and given to people, and these black families being stuck on a government system of welfare forever.
Well,
and reproducing and reproducing, and the birth rates of the third world have skyrocketed. If we have much freer free market circumstances, that would be flipped on its head. The first world's population would have, gone into the 3s and the 4s, like we see in some places in the third world, and the third world would have stayed sort of sedate. So there's just a lot of mouths to feed, and there's not going to be enough to go around when the government money runs out.
It's interesting you point that out, Stephen. So I can just say something, Nick. Just brought something to my mind with what the comment Stephen said there. I actually attended in Norway. There is the Populist Party in Norway is actually in government currently. They are the third biggest party, and they're in government with the Conservative Party, and they are against mass migration. And the foreign minister in Norway, the minister for migration and integration, she is from that party. She is actually from literally. She literally lives in a town like half an hour away from where I live. So she's literally in this area where I live. And she had a meeting here the other day. It was like a month ago. She had a meeting here, a local meeting, and she was going through her plans with regards to migration and so on. And I attended a meeting with her to see what she had to say. And I asked her some questions. And she actually said one thing she talked about a lot was she was talking about how she wanted Norway to reduce migration. She is very much against mass migration. But she talked about how to reduce mass migration. And one thing that she brought up was she might actually have been jailed in UK for some kind of hate speech for what she said here. But she actually said that in Africa they have a very high birth rate, and she wanted to look at options on how to get that birth rate down. She actually said this, and she.
Oh boy!
Like imagine saying this in the UK. So she wanted to look at how they could help get the birth rate in Africa down, so there would be less migrants coming to Norway in the future. She actually talked like 10-15 minutes on this topic, and she talked about how she wanted to work on how to discourage migrants from coming to Norway in the first place. They wanted to make Norway out to be like a bad place for migrants to come. So she was happy to report that Norway only took in 1,000 migrants last year, a record low since 1995, and they plan on doing the same this year. So no more migration for Norway. And she talked about. She mentioned Sweden as well. She mentioned how she had actually went to one of the no-go zones in Sweden, and she was like, "These Swedes, like they're completely insane. They don't even talk about the problems they have over in Sweden." She was like openly talking about this at the meeting here in Norway, and she was talking about the problems with criminal gangs and grenades and bombings and so on happening in Sweden. Meanwhile, in Sweden they completely censor it, and she talked about how she also said, in Africa, you can have a migrant camp. It costs $100 million, and you can house 200,000 refugees in Africa. Whereas if you do that here in Norway, for $100 million, you can only house 1,000 refugees. So her proposal is that they should build refugee camps in Africa and help them there instead. They can help more people for less money. And so she's very much against mass migration, and she's a very nice lady. She's very traditional, and I'm quite fond of her.
I can see why, and that brings up a good point. If there was a way to wrap this whole conversation up in a nice bow, it's that the world's norms aren't static; they're dynamic and they're changing. And what's happening right now is an aggressive push by the left to push the norms in such a direction towards their ends and their favorable outcomes with all this. That is the core of what's going on. And that is what needs to be understood and fought against.
And they'll stop at nothing. I mean, they killed Seth Rich. They'll kill anyone in their path.
They could have killed Brittany. They could have killed Lauren, and they could have killed Martin. They'll probably kill Martin at some point.
Hopefully not. I've seen they torched his car, Antifa.
They torched his car. Given what I understand about these Antifa groups and how more extreme they are in Europe, I worry about this sort of shit every day. And I warned Brittany and Martin months back that when traveling, they started to clamp down. I was like, one of these days they're going to come after you. And Martin was like, no. Here we are now. with the Overton window or whatever they call it shifted a massive step in one direction, and not the nice kind.
Right. Well, they're getting desperate. And a bombshell that just came out today, Nick, you mentioned Antifa. Something that came out today is that an FBI agent leaked this, and it was basically with the Las Vegas shooting, you know, with Stephen Paddock, and I think 50 plus people died, that the FBI brass told agents on the ground that were coming through the forensics of the situation to ignore the evidence of multiple shooters. And then there, you can catch this. It's on my Twitter. It's twitter.com/Steve Franson. I have the link tweeted there. It's got like 4,000 retweets.
I'll put the links in the description so people can find it as well.
It's from I think Thomas 1774 Payne, I think is the original account, and I think it's on True Pundit and in the Gateway Pundit and stuff like this. So it's really blowing up right now. That there also could be some Antifa ISIS tie-in to the Las Vegas shooting. So there could be Antifa that are now being radicalized, probably by the deep state, and being given arms training and stuff like this. So it really is hitting another level. And we have Antifa. A year ago, Antifa was like, oh, they're silly, and you know, they're going to wear black and they're going to try to punch you, and they might do some stinky gas at your event, and oh, those guys are losers.
There's a reason that they're classified as a terrorist group in New Jersey.
Yeah, they're stepping it up. They're becoming more hardcore, and they're communist rebels. Like history well over, there have been so many communist rebel groups, and they're fundamentally communist anarchists. You know, they want communism, they want anarchy, and it's sort of a mix, but they're going to get deep state training and they're going to become very dangerous. So we have to take them more seriously than we did in the past.
Well, I can say that from Sweden, Antifa in Sweden actually worked together with some Islamist extremists at the rally that I covered on in Gothenburg a couple of months ago. That was like half a year ago now, almost. They had people from the no-go zones. They had these people from the no-go zones that joined up with Antifa, and they actually shouted Allah Akbar and so on. And they threw rocks at the police. And it turned out, and I actually got this all on video. I was the only guy that got this on video. The mainstream media was there. They basically, because this was it was a protest held by the Nordic Resistance Movement, which is a national socialist movement, a group. I don't agree with them. But all the mainstream media was interested in doing was basically, they had basically just parked by them and completely ignored all of the Antifa. They basically ignored all of the Antifa now standing on this side throwing rocks, and the mainstream media just parked on this side with them just trying to just focusing completely on them, while Antifa were throwing rocks and stones. Granted, the Nazis, they were violent to start with. They attacked the police and were arrested, but they had parked there and completely ignored the violence from the Antifa side. So I reported from both sides, and I was the only one that got on the video, the Antifa side, and it's on my YouTube channel.
That is the media narrative personified in basically the flesh. You can't get any more clear than that. When you have, like, I still remember this one example of this reported lady. She filmed this group of people in such a particular way to make it look like there was a protest going on, and some sort of huge, like, pro-Muslim protest for their rights or whatever in the UK.
And it was CNN,
yeah, and it was just that group of people, and it wasn't this huge mob they were implying.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the mainstream media, you cannot believe them. It's
a battle for your perception. It's not a battle for reality. It's a battle for your perception, because they can repeat a lie to you over and over again, and that's all they got to do to make it seem like a truth. They don't need it to be the truth. They just have to make you believe it's a truth.
Right. Yeah, take any useful idiot they can get. Any person that is willing to sort of strike out on their own. And look, there's a hierarchy on both sides. There's the sort of hierarchy of evil, and there's a hierarchy of good. And the good is very much obviously aligned with freedom and people like Lauren Southern and Brittany Pettibone. And these people we're all in a hierarchy, and we all sort of need to contribute to good. And there's a way of doing that, and you need to sort of serve people above you because they can fight and operate at a level that you can't, and you also need to mentor people that are coming up and that are below you and help them out. So the mainstream media, they love any useful idiots that are sort of willing to buck the hierarchy and try to make a name for themselves and not really contribute effectively to the hierarchy of good. They need useful idiots, and so they'll use Islamists.
I'll name one. D. Ray of Black Lives Matter. There you go. That's a useful idiot.
Right. He's a useful idiot. And, you know, there are people on the right that are also useful idiots. And I won't name names with them, but the mainstream media will use you. They will manipulate you. They will take you any way they can if you're looking to make a name for yourself rather than contribute. I mean, the important thing to do is just nurture the hierarchy and help the people around you and stuff like this. And that's community and that's connection. These conversations like this, I mean, they're so threatened by this, but if someone wants to come to them and make a name for themselves, they'll use that moment and they'll spin it any way they can. So
it's about substance.
They're liars.
It's all about substance. You look at someone like Nick Lowell of Hope Not Hate, their words are hollow and there's nothing to back them up. If you were to just take a pickaxe and just smash through their wall of ideas, you would find nothing back there. You would just find an empty space. There's nothing to back up what they have to say.
And the sad thing is, I just saw an article by on the BBC where they had like this ridiculous headline like, far-right extremists need to be stopped online, they're gathering online, and you read the article, and guess who had written the article? It was Nick Lowell of Hope Not Hate. He was the source behind the whole article. They was literally taken straight from Hope Not Hate website, and BBC just published it as fact. Like, wait, insane.
Most recently?
Yeah, that was recently, yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, send me a link for that. I want to read that shit and tear it apart.
Here it is. It's from the 2nd of March. Far-right moving increasingly online. Nick Lowell, head of Hope Not Hate, called on the government to target online peddlers of hate. We are facing a surging threat from far-right terrorism and violent extremism. We fear further violence from the extreme right in the months to come. This rising terrorist threat is the consequence of people being online, blah, 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 blah. And the BBC is just publishing this whole article as pure fact. It's like insane.
God damn it.
Not mentioning it's Hope Not Hate is the communist George Soros funded group. They, of course, didn't mention that. They just took that as fact.
And yeah, that series I did with Brittany Pettibone, it's on her channel. There's like a big playlist on the front page. So if you just look her channel up, you can't miss it. We basically went through every aspect of this George Soros situation and put it in such a way that it takes off the conspiracy lens glasses and it goes around the whole Alex Jones, they're turning the frogs gay sort of, you know, style. We just approach it honestly, and you would be surprised at how much of a reality there is to this rather than just a fever dream of tinfoil going on.
Well, it enriches the administrative sort of elite class to have open borders because they get to just have endless waves of cheap labor to put into place the things that they want to put in, you know, their big mansions and their walled compounds and their towers of Babel and stuff like this. And they want it this way.
Fuck, you mentioned that because you just reminded me that's part of their whole style here. People become these left-wing activists because they get paid good money to just basically sit around and bitch and moan. That is a cushy job for them. They are doing these sorts of activist things because it's a job and they get paid for it. They get money at the end of the day, and that is their profession. They have no heart in what they do. They have a paycheck.
Yeah, I think Megyn Kelly made somewhere like $8 to $20 million for jumping from Fox News over to the, I don't know the networks. Is it MSNBC or ABC?
The Today Show.
She made a bunch of money, and you know, Anderson Cooper rakes in the money, Wolf Blitzer rakes in the money, Jake Tapper rakes in the money, Don Lemon rakes in the money, Rachel Maddow rakes in the money. These people have no heart. You're absolutely right.
That's the thing.
I'm not funded by the Koch brothers. I'm not funded by Soros. I'm not funded by John D. Rockefeller or the Ford Foundation. I'm not funded by any of them. I only depend on what the public gives me to keep this sort of train going.
That's again an important thing, to point out. The mainstream media has billions to push their propaganda. Independent journalists like us, we're supported by you guys, the public. So if anyone can support us, that'd be highly appreciated, both for Nick and for me. And I don't know if Steven has anything where you can support him, or if it's.
Yeah, absolutely. You can catch me at stephenfranson.com. And yeah, I'll get you the links, Peter. But yeah, I'm definitely citizen supported. I don't take any money from anybody, nor would I ever. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't want to compromise. Even with some of these right-wing think tanks, like, oh, well, I get money from the Cato Institute or something. I just wouldn't want to do that. That's not my style. I've always just sort of asked people for money when I needed it, and got some, and tried to produce value. And that's really the most honest thing to do, I think. And that's the people that I respect operate that way. So
yeah, look, anyone who donates to my war chest of a PayPal, I want to go over there to Europe and I want to see this shit for myself, because it breaks my damn heart to see what my friends like Brittany and Martin and Lauren are going through, and I want to get over there and find the fuck out what's going on.
Do you want to join me on a trip to a Swedish no-go zone?
I would love a field trip. Well, I'll take a field trip to a Swedish no-go zone, and me and Peter can hang out and have Swedish alcohol, whatever you call it.
Well, I don't drink though, but
you can have grenades thrown at you. Apparently, that's Sweden. Oh.
You know, here's the thing. This whole grenade thing, by the way, I just wanted to point something out. I was basically the guy that got that pushed out into the media. The whole grenade bombing crisis in Sweden. I'm literally the guy who's responsible for that actually getting out into the media. Now the New York Times and mainstream media are now writing about it. I was the first guy to report on it, and that's how important independent journalists are. You know, we get the things out there. You know, we eventually force the mainstream media to cover things they otherwise would completely ignore.
Here's the thing. The mainstream media likes to play it safe, and they don't like to be the first one to talk about something controversial like this. But you got independent people like Peter and me and Franson here, then because of the fact that independent people take these first steps, that is what lays the groundwork for the mainstream media to follow our lead, rather than, you know, them ever thinking about taking a bold step forward themselves. And that's the sad state of things.
Yeah, no, influence supersedes corruption. I mean, you know, if you get influence with virtue, you just win the hearts and the minds of people, and a new paradigm gets ushered in. When you rely on old money that was made from borders coming down, and remember, a lot of these elites, they made their fortunes from the world wars. I mean, they sold tons of arms. They were involved in the corporations that sold materials to the armies and stuff like this. And so a lot of this is really old money from an old paradigm. And so if you want to usher in a new paradigm, put your money where your values are, and sort of help people come together that way. So, and that really that makes a lasting change. When you can win with the argument, when you can win with connection, it's just going to be a lot more enduring. That is really what civilization is. It's a system of trust. It's a dialogue of trust.
Money runs out, but passion and the true understanding of ideas lives on forever. And that's really all I got to say about that. I mean, you can find me on Twitter at nickmon1112.
I'll have the links in the description so people can find you.
nickmon1112, because I'm unoriginal and then just put my birthday at the end. And I already think we've gone on. Yeah, I think we've gone on long enough here. I think the point of something needing to change has been brought across. And I want to thank Peter for giving me this opportunity to platform myself, and for Franson for coming along and providing valuable insight and banter.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming, everyone. And yeah, I think it's been a very good discussion, a very good stream.
Yeah. What happened with Brittany and Lauren and Martin warrants it. It warrants something to be said. You look, people out there in the audience, you have to wake the fuck up right now, because shit is going to hit the fan, and it's going to hit the fan soon, and it has already. Okay? Okay. I'm sorry. That is my outro. That is my outro.
Yeah.
That's a hard-hitting outro.
Real quick. You can find me at twitter.com/TFranson. Peter, thanks for having me on. Nick, it was really great to meet you. And we're here because we care about the truth, about freedom. We also really care about Brittany and Lauren and Martin and Tommy. These people are great people. And Kaylin, these people are just wonderful people. They're getting attacked, they're getting abused, and they're being treated like dissidents. And we know what happens to dissidents. They get jailed for a long time. All sorts of terrible things happen to them. It could happen to you. Google's tracking you. Google knows the sites you're visiting if you would all use Google. So be really careful, be aware, and then talk to people about what's going on. You know, make a connection. The global elite hate this. They hate connection. They hate trust. They hate community. So this is what we have to build. We have to push it all the way. So thanks again for having me. Big shout out to everyone in the audience. Thanks for coming. And that's my piece.
Same.
Thank you. I would like to thank everyone so much for coming on the stream. I think it's been a very productive and interesting conversation. And yeah, I'll leave the links to everyone's Twitters and contacts and so on in the description below, so you can all find Stephen Franson and Nick Monroe. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for watching as well. And make sure to hit the like button on the stream. That gives the video more views. I really want to point that out. People sometimes don't understand it. Like button equals more views. And share this on social media. And subscribe to my channel as well, and subscribe to Stephen Franson's channel, and follow Nick Monroe as well. And I want to thank the whole audience and everyone for coming, and I think we'll end the stream here. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye.